We're going to start this project with a simple sketch that you can either draw from memory or from photo reference. We're going to enlarge it, print it out on watercolor paper, and then work into that image with watercolor, acrylic, pen and ink, and graphite. Make sure you choose a drawing paper or watercolor paper that's thin enough to be put through an inkjet printer. You can start this project by hand drawing concepts based on your theme and chosen subject matter. Add as much detail as you care to, but stay away from fully shading the image. We'll need areas to lay down color later on. If your drawing skills are a little rusty, you can always take a photo reference from a photograph that you took, use our light table, and trace your sketch so that it's more accurate. When tracing, stay general and outline all the big areas first, then add detail after you've traced with the lights off. When you're finished, the next step is to photograph your small work. Take a picture of it, paying attention to shadows, and make sure it's not keystoned. Send the sketch to your computer and print on watercolor paper. In this case, I'm printing on 90-pound 11x14 watercolor paper. It will work with almost any media. You just have to wait for the ink to dry before you start applying your layers. When working with multimedia, always start with watercolors. We'll need a palette, some water, some paper towels, and an assortment of watercolor brushes. To start working with the watercolors, add some water to your reservoir, and then loosen up some pigment. And always start with cool colors. We're starting with cool colors in the background, and when you apply the watercolors, just apply them in very, very loose strokes using a large brush. Let the watercolors merge together and fill up the picture plane on their own. To add heavier washes, just add more pigment. Or you can go back over those areas with multiple layers of washes. Once you're satisfied with your lightest hues of cool colors, it's time to add some darker hue to the cooler colors. Work those darker hues into your background and let them merge with the lighter values that are still wet. This is known as the wet and wet technique. You can cover a lot more ground working wet and wet than you can waiting for layers to dry and then apply more layers over top of them. When you're happy with your background, it's time to move into some warm colors and bring areas of emphasis to your focal point. In this case, I'm going to add a bit of a light source and then continue to use that color throughout my figure. This will make the figure look more realistic, but it will also bring it forward in the picture plane. Continue to add warm colors until you have your desired results. Next, it's time to add acrylic to our main area of emphasis and the supporting areas of emphasis in the composition. You'll notice a stark contrast between the acrylic and the watercolor that mutes down after it dries. After your acrylic is dried, it's time to add other mixed media to your composition. Pick the media for your desired effect and apply it by spreading it out throughout the picture plane. In this case, we're using oil pastel for accents and highlights, colored pencil for detail, Sharpie for bold strokes and other areas of emphasis, and graphite to further unify the value ranges.